This is Record Royale, where we throw two albums into the ring with one another and see which one comes out on top. I don't know if you saw, this week though, the Avalanches and Jamie XX released a song together.
Are you serious?
We
Yeah.
completely didn't know.
I haven't seen that. That's
Yeah,
sick, though. I love both of those artists. Jamie XX is fucking awesome. Actually, I did see a little snippet. You were talking about, I think you were saying you were at Lost Paradise watching Jamie XX.
Oh, God, yeah.
Dude, I think I was at that same festival.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it was
And how good was
2015
it?
going into 2016.
I think that would have been it, yeah. It was definitely like at least 4 years ago kind of thing. Was it the same year John Hopkins played?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember. Angus and Julia Stone played as well.
Maybe. I just remember.
Yeah,
like,
no, it was that one.
it was that
And
year.
like Fortet, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I don't know. I feel like I would have.
One of them big.
There's a lot that I didn't remember about that
Yeah.
festival. So. But
Yeah, it was
I just remember
big one.
watching that John Hopkins set, and I was like, I'm pretty sure he played after Jamie XX, and I was like, oh, Jamie XX, like, yeah, that was cool. That was like a pretty cruisy DJ set kind of thing, like just played enjoyable kind of festival bangers. And then John Hopkins came on, and it was like he just like tranquilized the whole entire venue. Like everyone was just staring with their jaw to the floor, being like, "This is the fucking best set I've
That
ever
other
seen
stage
in my
is
life."
like. is
Oh,
very
I
cool
think I
over
must
there.
have stormed back to the tent after Jamie XX played. Because
You
we
know
were
how
at, the thing
outrageous.
was, we were at the front, and it was just, oh, Adam, you got a red wine.
Oh,
Radio.
bourgeois.
Yeah, I'm out of
but-
beers. No good.
Oh, no. I'm the only one without a beer here. But anyway, yeah, I was just so upset, and I couldn't hear a thing. I was just a little boy then, though, wasn't I?
That's right.
But yeah, then they released a song together, and maybe the biggest coincidence of the pod so far. By far, the biggest coincidence.
Yeah,
Not a
easily.
coincidence. You're just
Called
foretelling the
Jesus.
future. I can't
Radiohead
imagine
and
what happened on
Coldplay.
this
that
week's
good of a
one.
matchup.
Yeah.
We had no idea how good of a matchup that was. Brad, you're a genius.
Jeez, mate.
Was that just you guys, or was there anyone like on the podcast you were chatting to?
That was just
No,
us that
it's
week.
just
Yeah,
us.
sick.
Yeah.
So we planted that idea in their heads, and then within a week they got the
They
song
banged out a
together,
track.
and then a week later
Yeah.
they released it.
Yeah, Jamie XX and all of the Avalanches are like devout listeners to the podcast, and they were like, you know what, this is actually a sick idea. Let's do this.
Yeah.
They were in like the live comments section chatting to each other.
Oh, that would be
That'd be
so
so
good. If you're
decent.
listening, once again, shout out friends of the pod. Speaking of the
Fans
pod,
of the pod.
episode 15, we're here. We got Brae from Dear Seattle.
G'day.
Man, been looking forward to this one for a while. Thanks for coming on, mate.
So have I. No, my pleasure.
So good to have you. We're doing Coldplay and Radiohead. Real quick, what made you choose these two for this episode?
Basically, like, so recently, with one of the bands that I'm kind of helping manage from Melbourne called Aeroplane Mode, they haven't like launched yet or anything, but we've been doing this thing throughout COVID where we do trivia each week, and it's like we all pick our top 10 favorite songs from either like a certain decade or a certain style of music and put it all into a Spotify playlist, and we listen to it throughout the week and then try and pick who put which one into the Spotify playlist.
Wow, true.
And,
That's
like,
sick. That's such a good idea.
little point system. Feel free to steal it. It's great.
Yeah. That sounds really fun.
And so we were doing it, and I think the first one was just favorite of all time, like favorite songs of all time, and yeah, like I just couldn't really pick between so many of the songs on these albums that I was just like, you know what, these are probably two of my favorite of all time in terms of albums, and so yeah. Figured why not put them against each other? They're pretty similar.
They are very similar, and I didn't know that either because I've never listened to both of these albums. I've obviously
really?
listened to I've listened to OK Computer by Radiohead, and I've obviously heard Coldplay's biggest hits, which is a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I thought I thought it was pretty random, but then reading about the bands and then listening to the albums, I was like, oh man, these are pretty similar because obviously
Yeah, totally.
Coldplay were heaps influenced by Radiohead, weren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, surely it sounds so similar.
I think it's the Jeff Buckley. Both albums were like very Jeff Buckley-esque, and I was reading that Radiohead, they wrote a lot of the songs on the bands after watching a Jeff Buckley concert. like
Hectic.
fake plastic trees and stuff. And I read also that Coldplay were massive fans, and Shiver was basically them trying to be Jeff Buckley. So
Really?
That
I
was
didn't
that
know
was a
that.
weird-
That's so interesting.
that was a weird little thing that both albums, both artists said that was the main influence. There
That's
you
so
go.
cool.
There you go.
Like personally, I've never really listened to much Jeff Buckley. So I don't think I've ever really noticed the influence. But
Well, I think it's just because there's so many good ballads on both albums, and Jeff Buckley was just kind of the king of ballads. Really.
yeah, definitely. Apparently,
Yeah.
I think one of the microphones we used in recording our album actually was Jeff Buckley's microphone. It's like
What?
a-
There you go.
yeah, it was like at the studio that we recorded it at, and they were just like,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
by the way, like that was Jeff Buckley's, or like I don't know the exactly where it came from. If I'm wrong, John Grace, who's the engineer, tell me, because I've been telling everyone.
Yeah.
But
So
he-
funny that like recording, like the producers always show off their like the best shit they got. Like,
Yeah.
check this out.
Yeah.
yeah, their little
Jeff
trophy
Buckley
cabinet.
mic. Yeah.
It's
Wait,
so good.
Do you record that you're out last hour in Melbourne?
Yeah, it was a
How does
studio.
a Jeff Buckley mic end up in a studio in
knows?
Melbourne?
Well, it's the studio itself is owned by Tom Larkin, who was the drummer of a band called She Had. I don't know if you
Oh,
guys
okay,
know.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Like alt rock band from New Zealand. They were pretty
Yeah.
big back in the day. So I think he's just got like a collection of random things like that in the studio he picked up over the years and everything.
That's
His
awesome.
prized possessions.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know
pretty-
why he
that's
let
sick,
people
yeah.
like us use it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, before we get into the albums, what have you guys been doing recently? I saw that you were. Did you go to like a cabin in the woods
Yeah.
to write? Was that?
Yeah. It was
Was that the whole
first time
band, or was
I've
that
done
just
it,
you?
actually. Yeah, no, that was just me. It was the first time I'd ever done it, like a solo riding trip kind of thing. So it was a bit of a weird experience, but like I've done a bit of solo travel myself, and I was like, oh, you know what, like I love doing that. So what'll be the difference, really? And yeah, just went away to a little cabin in the Blue Mountains, which is made for one-person retreats kind of thing. Like they tend to have yogis come there, or like riders and stuff like that, and they come and just like isolate themselves for a little period and get some work done or do their practice. And it was so funny in the Airbnb listing as I was reading it, they were like, yeah, you know, we kind of gear ourselves towards solo getaways and all this kind of stuff. And then at the bottom, in like the last sentence, it was just like, by the way, we're not a cult. And I was just read it and I was like,
Good to know.
I wasn't thinking it until you mentioned it, but now I'm really fucking terrified.
That's
It
so
looked-
funny.
It looked unreal. That photo you put up was like crazy. How nice that looked.
Yeah, it was sick. It was just like,
No.
felt very Bon Iver of me.
Yeah. It looked like deep in the woods, or was it? Or was that?
No, like, it was kind of like out the back of the person's property.
Okay, yeah.
So like their house was maybe 50 meters, 100 meters away. So it wasn't as
Right, yeah.
isolated as it looked, but you know,
Yeah.
good for Pinterest and Instagram, you know?
Yeah.
I need to get my Pinterest account going.
Yeah. Same.
Did you guys have any plans before, like for shows wise, before like the lockdown, or was this year pretty much just for writing anyway?
No, yeah, like we got so lucky with like COVID and everything, just in the sense that we just finished that Dune Rats tour a week before they closed down all the venues and said you could only have like 500 people or whatever. And that was literally kind of like the marking point of the end of our album cycle. And so we were already ready to be like, sweet, go away for 9 months and do nothing, just kind of like write and, you know, get the next album sorted. And yeah, then COVID hit and we were like, well, we got nothing else to do but that. So
Yeah.
kind of came at the perfect time for us.
Yeah. Oh, that's so lucky.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we shouldn't say that it's lucky, but
No,
timing
yeah.
wise for you
Comparative
guys,
to a
it
bunch
worked
of other
out well.
artists. Yeah, that's it. Like, I know a lot of artists who just had like full album rollout campaigns ready to go and just got absolutely squashed. So
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty brutal times. Did you?
definitely.
Am I correct in saying that did you record at the Grove earlier this year, or did you spend time at the Grove Studios?
No, so that was, we weren't recording there, but we were writing there.
Oh, writing there too.
So
Cool.
that was, I think, 2 or 3 weeks before we went away. Before I went away on my own.
Yeah.
And yeah, we did like a full band thingo there for a week and just jammed out for a week and sat around drinking beers and watching
Nice.
Nathan For You, if anyone's seen that TV
Oh,
show.
so good.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
So
Oh,
good.
that's
We'll,
heaps
we'll
good.
get to that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was awesome. Like, I'd never been to the Grove before, but a bunch of people I know have just told me over the years that it's one of the best places in New South Wales to go and record, or even just write, or even just stay for a holiday, because it's like
Hang out.
a
Yeah.
nice little tranquil location. So it was good to go and experience it and see what all the fuss is about.
Yeah, I've heard such good things. Seen so many bands past few years. Because I remember when, like 2015. I don't know how new it was then, but you saw a lot of like smaller local bands for the past few years. Heaps of like Divine Soho recorded their album, didn't they? At
Yeah.
the Grove.
Yeah, totally.
And I think Skeggs have recorded there now too.
Yeah.
Which is like
I think DZ have been there.
yeah.
A couple albums.
Pretty sure
yeah.
Toddy was there as well. Like Silverchair recorded there, which is like the biggest,
there you go.
I don't know, name drop you could ask for. But I was just standing there and like I was looking at like I think it's Diorama was recorded there. I could be wrong, but I was just looking at it being like, whew, this is huge.
That's the
The great-
supreme Silverchair album, in my opinion.
Yeah.
By the
totally.
way.
Oh,
Friends of the pod.
I don't know if it's the best album, but The Greatest View is the best song to come out of Newcastle ever.
It
I
is,
reckon.
It is.
yeah,
For sure.
totally.
Woo.
I have to say that like Frog Stomp is probably it for me, but
Yeah.
it's funny. I was like when I
Classic.
was kind of like doing some reading about these albums, because I realized that I hadn't really like delved into anything outside of just listening to the music that these albums were chatting about. I noticed that The Bends was released like 2 weeks before I was born, in 1995, and then I was like, oh, I wonder what other albums were released in 1995.
Frog Stomp.
It was like all of my favorite albums, and I was like,
Wow.
surely this isn't a coincidence. But it was like, yeah, Frog Stomp, The Bends, What's the Story, Morning Glory by Oasis. Oh fuck, there was another one. I had a little list going as well, just so I didn't forget, but I've forgotten. Oh, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, the Smashing
True,
Pumpkins
God.
record.
Oh, true.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
What a 25th anniversary.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, 25
That's
years
a
old.
big
That's
year.
me. Yeah, I know. I was like, is it a coincidence or is it like we're astrologically connected somehow?
Nah, for sure.
You were made to find those albums.
Yeah, totally.
You mentioned before you've been doing cinematography work.
Yeah,
Is that just started with the new Stumps video, or has that been
yeah.
a bit more?
That was like the first, I guess, main project that I've kind of jumped on. But it was kind of just like a quarter life crisis, I think. During COVID, I was like, you know what, like I could kind of work a normal job on the side of music and just use it as like, this is purely to fund doing my music stuff. But I was just kind of like, you know, like why can't I find something that I care about as much as music and do that as my secondary job? Funnily enough, I've jumped into another industry that might not pay that well, but we'll see how it goes. But it was always something that I've loved and had wanted to get into, but just didn't have like the time or even the money and like savings to kind of just like jump headfirst into it.
There's a lot of gear to buy.
Yeah, that's it. And like, luckily, COVID kind of came with like a bit of savings that I had put away, but also like JobKeeper and stuff like that. I was
Yeah,
like,
good.
thank you, taxpayers.
Putting it straight back into the economy.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So yeah, I was just like, why not try and jump on whatever I can? And the first thing was that Stumps video for their next record. And it's so good. Like, I reckon it's my favorite song that they're going to release. It's
I'm
like
so keen.
the best song I've heard of them, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
I'm so keen.
Yeah.
They keep
I
getting
love-
better and better.
Oh,
Shout
so
out
sick.
to goddamn Stumps because I love that
Yeah, I
style of
know,
music.
right?
Come on
It's-
the pod.
Yeah.
yeah.
So good. Yeah, literally. Get
Yeah,
on.
lads, if you're keen,
Yeah.
hit us
Yeah.
up. Should we get cracking on these albums?
Yeah, we should.
Should we
Let's
fly
do it.
through them? I'm going to read through these little details real quick. Radiohead, British band. Okay, I got to admit, I said this to the boys throughout the week. I did not know they were British. I thought they were American. My whole
Oh, really?
yeah.
Mate, just because they
can't
feature in a
believe
South
that.
Park episode doesn't mean they're American.
Because I said this before,
Definitely why.
and I'll talk about it later. But because I listened to a lot of Muse when I was like in my early teens,
Mm.
and everyone you would always read. Because I always thought the comparison was, oh, Muse are just a British Radiohead. Obviously, they were just saying Muse just sound like Radiohead. I just imagined that they said they're a British version of Radiohead. So I just thought they were
Yeah,
American.
right.
And now when I'm listening to the album, I'm like, how did I think they were American? He sounds so
It
British.
sounds
Yeah.
like those people thought they were American though. Like if you were to say the British Radiohead, I feel like
Yeah.
That just
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
There's
true.
been
Yeah,
some
maybe
cookery
they were
somewhere.
wrong and they.
Yeah, you've
I've
been
been lied
misled,
to.
mate. It wasn't your own
Yeah.
fault. they
not
led
your
you
fault.
down the garden path.
Don't beat yourself up.
Yeah. So Tom York, vocal guitarist, Johnny Greenwood, and a brother Colin Greenwood. Johnny's a guitarist, Colin's a bassist. I love the name Colin.
Yeah,
Ed
how good is it to
O'Brien,
say?
guitarist. Philip Selway on the drums. The Bends was their second studio album, released on the 13th of March 1995 by Parlophone Records, which is a German-British label. And they must have been maybe the biggest label because they had the Beatles. They released stuff from the Beatles, Blur, Duran Duran. Here we go. Here's a trivia question. Get that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire thing going because
yeah. I don't know my
guess
friend.
guess what British actor has released an album with Parlophone Records?
Idris Elba.
Oh, damn it. You got it straight away. Yeah,
Elba.
Idris Elba.
Whoa.
Yeah, I recently found out that he's a DJ.
Yep.
Are you
I think he
serious?
might rap a
Last
bit
week.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like a well-known DJ.
Man.
Like plays festivals and stuff.
That guy could not get cooler.
Imagine that.
I know.
He played like it was Reading or something, and he was the last act. Imagine just being 3 days of just being off your face, and then seeing Idris Elba.
What
up
does he
there.
play?
Blows
Do you
your
know,
mind.
like, is it like full UK garage?
It's like pretty, yeah,
grime?
yeah.
Oh,
It's pretty full on.
Sick.
It's so nice.
Okay, I'm adding that to the list of other things
Yeah.
to check
Yeah,
out
I'm gonna have to
after
check
the
that
Wolf
out.
Mother Trap song.
So good.
Idris Elba DJ, sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that he was before, but never really looked into it. So it was produced by a guy called John Leckie, who before this had worked with George Harrison, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, Pink Floyd, and then after this he did the first 2 Muse albums. So not bad.
Is there anyone I'd know though? Or
Oh, so he's pretty underground.
Yeah.
yeah,
My music taste is a bit niche, so you know.
yeah.
There was 6 singles off this bad boy, and I didn't expect this, but My Iron Lung was the first single. Then High and Dry and Planet Telex. Is it Telex? Planet Telex? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
I've been saying it
That'll
over the
do.
years.
That was like an A and B side, and then Fake Plastic Trees, Just, Street Spirit, Fade Out, and The Bends were the. So pretty much every song was a single. The album
Huge
peaked at
record.
number 4 in the UK, 23 here in Australia, and 88 in America. It was Rolling Stone's 110th best album of all time, Virgin Media's second best album of all time, and Pitchfork's most important Britpop album. Don't even know if they were really Britpop, but they were in that kind of. They were released around that time, I suppose.
I think
and they were from
I
Britain.
think there's definitely basis for that. Some of the
Yeah.
guitars in this sound straight off What's the Story, Morning Glory.
Mm.
Like those big like Les Pauls. I think it's a Les Paul. It sounds like a Les Paul.
Mm.
And a Marshall stack.
Yeah,
Just like big
definitely. Stadium
arena
sounding
rock.
guitars, totally.
like yeah.
Humbuckers.
So nice. Bring him back. Bring back the Les Paul.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not featured enough nowadays. I don't think.
Haven't
Golden
Les Paul
Les
like
Paul.
gone bankrupt or something?
Yeah, Gibson.
Oh, Gibson did for
Oh,
a bit. 'cause
Gibson,
they,
yeah.
they were just robbing people
Yeah.
for 1,000 years. Paying $5,000 for a guitar. But
Catches up with you.
the big gats on the Bends. Like those big stadium. Oh,
Huge.
I love it.
It's so
Yeah,
good.
You don't
they're-
hear
they're
enough
so
of it.
good, eh? Cool. Coldplay. They were formed in '95, so the year the Bends came out, from London. Chris Martin, Guy Berryman, Johnny Buckland, and Will Champion. They were originally called the Pectorals. Pectorals spelled with the Z on the end, and then they were called Starfish before settling on the name Coldplay.
Ah, I didn't know that. That's
The Pectorals is one of the worst band names I've ever heard. That's got to go up on Twitter. That's a shock.
Yeah,
Pectorals.
bad band name series.
God, that's bad.
Pectorals with the Z, not an S, with the Z on the end.
That's so much
Really?
worse.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So the debut studio album from Pectorals was released on July 10th, 2000, also by Parlophone Records, so same label. It was co-produced by the band and a guy called Ken Nelson. Every song besides the song High Speed, which was produced by a guy called Chris Allison. Nelson did Coldplay's 2 albums after this as well. 4 singles: Shiver, Yellow, which was the biggest one, 4 in the UK, 5 here, 48 in America, and
Is that still their biggest? Surely.
nah, they would have hit number 1 surely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Viva la Vida, is that
Yeah.
that
Oh,
that would have
huge.
got number 1 surely. And number 1 in the all important Iceland. Trouble was the next single, number 1 in Iceland as well, and Don't Panic was the 4th single. Shout out to all our Vikings out there. The album peaked at number 1 in the UK, 2 here in Australia, and 51 in America. According to NME, it was the 33rd best British album ever, and it's the 20th biggest selling British album of the 21st century. I don't have how many copies it sold, but I'm talking millions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put it
Because
down
I think
as a
they're
rough
one of the
fucking heaps.
yeah, I think they're one of the
Yeah.
best selling artists ever. Maybe that would have to be.
I
Oh,
think at least
you'd
like
think so,
one of the
hey.
best selling British for sure.
Yeah.
They are very, very big. That's all I got for the little details of these. Should we get into?
The elements.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I
Let's
said
hear your take.
before, I thought Radiohead were American just because of Muse, and because of all the people comparing Muse to Radiohead. But I never really got into Radiohead, and then listening to this album, Muse sound a lot like them, like
Yeah.
a lot.
I can see
There's
that.
a I feel like you can hear a lot of bands. They're pretty influential, really.
Yeah, that's it. Hey,
Mm.
and I think that's like kind of where it has taken them is like they're one of those bands that started off so influential doing like the pretty like Brit pop kind of thing. Like as we were
Yeah.
saying, it's like this album out of any of the Radiohead albums is probably the only one
Yeah.
that you could really label as that genre.
Yeah.
And they just did it
Absolutely.
so fucking well that like, you know, they've done it. They could just move on and like,
I think they did it the best.
yeah, I
Like
agree.
I think like a lot of that Britpop, and I'm a big like Blur fan and
Yes, sick.
Oasis to some degree, but like Blur especially and Pulp and a lot of those bands.
Mm.
But Radiohead, they're so much more chaotic than
Yeah.
like any of those. A lot of those bands were a lot more apologetic, I guess, or just like pretty like standard. A lot of their songs sounded, had this similar sort of structure
Mm.
and like similar textures. Whereas Radiohead, like this album, I think it's probably one of their safest albums.
Yeah.
And it's not even a safe album.
That's
like there's
it.
still a lot going on.
Yeah.
By Britpop standards, yeah,
And-
for sure.
Like song to song, it changes up so dramatically, I think. Like,
yeah, like even
having-
just comparing it to like Coldplay, like I've never
Yeah.
like these are two of my favorite albums of all time, but I've never really like compared them side by side, and I didn't even realize how like influenced Parachutes was by the Bends until I kind of
Yeah.
compared directly. But the main thing that I noticed that was the difference between them was like the Bends is one of those records that sounds like it's a simple but effective album, the same way
Yeah.
Parachutes is. But once you're actually listening and like kind of dissecting everything, there is constantly so much shit going on that like you just don't really pick up on. And at least for me, I feel like that's probably why there's been so much like replay value to me, because every time I hear it, there's like some new thing that I pick up on, as opposed to just like,
Absolutely.
hearing like, oh, cool, guitar chords and vocals with a pretty melody
Yeah.
kind of thing,
I think the vocal melodies are pretty similar as well.
Totally.
Vocal melodies are like not your typical rock melodies. They're like a lot of them are. I know when Radiohead were writing, I think it was My Own Lung. They basically apparently had a competition between Tom and is it Johnny Greenwood? Johnny.
Johnny.
They had a competition to see who could fit the most amount of chords
Yeah.
in the song.
Heard that,
So
yeah.
they just so the singing is pretty crazy because it's like almost operatic the way that goes in, and there's a bit of that in Coldplay's as well. Like it's not your standard vocal melodies. Like you
Yeah.
are often taken off guard by the direction that they go in, which I like a lot.
It's the angsty falsetto.
Yeah, there's a lot of falsetto,
Yeah.
and that's
definitely
Jeff
for the
Buckley to a
bands.
T. That's
Yeah, totally.
just
Yeah.
throwing in falsetto
That's a good
wherever,
point, actually. Yeah,
and
totally.
wherever's possible. Sorry. Yeah.
What you
Well
said
played.
before, how Brae, all
Yeah.
those albums that came out in '95,
Yeah.
they all like Smashing Pumpkins, What's the Story, Morning Glory, the Bends. They all feel like masterpieces in a way.
Totally.
And I don't know if there was too many albums like that before this period, like that I can think of that
Aw.
really felt like.
That is it.
I don't know about that.
No, I mean
Chill.
like in this.
50 years.
Okay, no, but like
I know
in
what you
terms
mean.
of genre, like jumping, especially the Bends. I'm thinking more of the Bends, but obviously there was, the classics, Pink Floyd, the Beatles,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? They just feel like they did it so well. They weren't afraid to go crazy on them, and the Bends is like that. exactly.
Yeah,
I have
for
a
sure.
theory that I think that the 90s really were like the end of people coming up with really properly new stuff with guitar music. Like today we still have good guitar music, and like there's plenty, like we all play in guitar bands, so can't diss it too much. But like you haven't heard something like completely new in guitar music in a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
As far as like
Okay.
pop in the popular, I mean, you hear a lot of like new metal and stuff. That's pretty crazy. But the 90s, as far as like guitar music at the forefront of music, like being the most popular, that was like the last sort of period where like you hear all these crazy like classic albums from that. I mean, a little bit in the early 2000s, but I think it was starting to get to the end of its legs.
Yeah, it
As
was
far
really
as,
like the pinnacle that it came
As
to.
far
I
as
feel.
as far as uniqueness, I think.
Yeah.
Like people were still, it was easier to come up with like different sounds, I think, back then.
Yeah, for sure. Especially
Whereas
like
now-
when you
I would
consider
agree
bands
with
like
that,
Radiohead, like
Well, yeah.
for now, at least like in our era, it's so easy to just like whack synths in and use ridiculous effects on guitars and like all these different things with like
Yeah.
DAW softwares on your laptop.
All on your
Exactly,
laptop.
But
yeah.
you know, they're
for
like
sure.
in a studio like effectively
They did all
inventing some of these sounds because
Yeah.
no one's thought of putting such and such pedals together and like, you know, let's whack a fucking distortion pedal on a keyboard and see what happens. And
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I feel
Sure.
like after that, you know, it kind of limits what you can
does.
do, you know?
Yeah. And they've
Absolutely.
they've just continued to change as well.
Yeah, totally.
It's crazy
that's
how
probably
much
why.
how different their stuff is now.
Yeah.
They'd
Yeah.
have to be the most, as far as polarizing for like, I'd say they'd piss their fans off more than any other band ever. Because there'd be so many fans of their stuff in the 90s that would just be like, I can't listen to this.
Yeah, well, that's the
Their
thing,
new
like,
stuff.
I feel like that's the thing I've always found so interesting about Radiohead is like everyone has their favorite album, but like I feel like there's so few people out there who love every album by Radiohead.
Yeah.
Myself included. Like there's definitely
Yeah.
ones that I'm like, I don't have to listen to that again.
the king of limbs. The king of limbs can sit in the bin forever. That album sucks balls. But I think their last album was really good.
Yeah,
And In Rainbows was good. But that middle period
I like
between
Moon-Shaped
In
Pool,
Rainbows
yeah.
and
a
is it
moon-shaped pool.
Moon-Shaped Pool?
Yeah,
Everything sucked pretty much to me. Unlistenable.
Fair enough.
But they've come back around.
yeah. But like
Yeah.
you know,
Moon-Shaped
as
Pool's
an
great.
artist, I feel like I respect that so much in the way that like I know a lot of people who think King of Limbs is their favorite Radiohead album. And
Yeah,
it's like
that's it.
you know, like I just back the fact that they didn't pigeonhole themselves based on
Oh,
you
absolutely.
know
I respect
success
it.
or
For
like you know
sure.
what people were appreciating. Because even you know in Pablo Honey, like Creep was obviously like their breakout single. Everyone knows it, and it was huge. But like they despised the song, and like I think have played it live maybe once or twice.
Did you know that My Iron Lung that's what that song's about?
Oh really?
So My Iron Lung is directly talking about Creep. Like that's the iron lung that just keeps
Oh,
like,
it keeps the band
it just
alive.
keeps holding them back, and they can't get away from it. And that's why it's kind of like it's got a lot of guitar chugs and stuff in it,
Yeah,
similar
hectic.
to Creep. And
Fuck,
they
that's
released
cool.
it first. That was the first single.
Oh,
It was
true.
literally them just saying, "Here it is. Fuck you guys.
Yeah, enjoy it. Like
We hate this song.
because
But
apparently
This is all we're known for."
the actual instrumentation of that song, like on the album, the recording is taken from a live performance at London
Really?
Asteria or something.
True.
And they just redid the vocals and stuff over the top, so they didn't even bother with it in the studio. They were just like, we recorded it from like some live performance we did, and just we'll
Was
just
that
redo the
for
vocals.
My Iron Lung?
Yeah, My
or
Iron
for
Lung.
Creep?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
There was a lot of weird stuff like that. There was another track I read. I think it was it Bulletproof?
I wish I was.
Was one of the tracks. Hang on. Yeah, Planet T-Lax. T-Lax? Is that how you say it?
Who knows?
He Tom
Whatever you want.
York.
Planet
They
T.
were
brother.
really yeah. They were really hungover, like just before the album. They were finished every other song, and that song they hadn't written at all. They'd sort of pre-written every other song and like gone through the planning stages and like fixing it up or whatever. And right at the end of recording everything else, they were really hungover one morning, like probably still drunk, and just wrote that morning. And Tom York recorded all the vocals while lying on the ground because he couldn't get up. He was
Jesus,
so hungover.
that is so
that whole
good.
yeah, that
That's
whole
like,
song.
it's not like a drab vocal performance either. Like
No.
it's fucking
No, it's
huge.
It's like the most. Yeah, it's got all those like crazy building up guitars as well.
yeah,
Unbelievable that they wrote that in like half a morning. They said
that's insane. I
it's
didn't know
nuts.
that.
Yeah.
That's such a rock star story.
It is.
Yeah, I know. But it's crazy. Like even like
Classic.
with Creep, like I don't know if you guys know the story, but it's a pretty popular story. About how like they all hated it so much that like when they were recording it, the reason there's that like iconic like chicka into the distortion was like Johnny Greenwood was literally trying to fuck up the song, and so he like kicked on his distortion pedal and was just like trying to ruin the take because he didn't like it. And so it
Ends up making it even more
yeah,
iconic.
exactly. Yeah.
Wait, so they hated it while recording?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? How? Why did they even fuck around with it then?
Yeah.
Oh, just because they were. It was. I
Would've
think it
been
was
label,
just
surely.
label pressure. Yeah.
Label pressure.
True,
yeah.
Yeah.
For
Because
sure.
that was the same with I read that they hated High and Dry,
Yeah.
which is
Really?
now one of their
Really?
biggest songs
Huge
ever.
Ah.
tune. Like,
They-
so good.
Tom York is on record saying that is one of the worst songs of all time. He like absolutely,
yeah.
and at the time he was like, "This is a stupid song, and it's so basic, and like it means nothing to me." And the record label
Yeah.
were just like, "It's going to be massive," and it was.
And I, like,
So
honestly,
I love
so
that
Tom-
song.
It's probably the
Tom
same
was
thing
wrong.
for Creep as well. Like, it's that same, like,
yeah,
I don't know, just like so easily relatable for so many people. But like,
yeah,
you know, as an artist or like as someone so off the wall creative as Tom York is, it's like,
yeah,
you know, probably just doesn't scratch the itch that he has.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, for sure,
For sure.
I think so.
Brae, are you a big fan of all of Coldplay stuff or just mainly this album?
I had a feeling this question would come up, and the answer is no, definitely not. I was in a BWS the other day, and there was a song playing, and it like made me want to vomit. It was like the most disgusting, like tropical house bullshit I've ever heard in my life. And
Chris Martin.
as soon as the vocals came in, it was fucking Chris Martin, and I was like, oh, dude,
Yeah,
like,
Oh, he can.
No,
he's
just
already
don't.
cooked it. He can do any tropical house song he wants now. Like, there's no
Yeah,
coming
that's
back.
true.
Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone.
yeah.
What about the albums after this? Because they're not as bad as their new stuff,
Yeah.
aren't they?
I
X and
like
Y and
Rush of Blood to the Head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically like for me from like Parachutes, their debut onwards, it's like the next one underneath.
So,
like it gets
yeah,
gradually
great.
worse and worse.
like
to me.
Weezer,
yeah.
exact same as Weezer. Weezer, you can just
Oh.
rate them from start to finish, and it's exactly
Yeah.
right.
It's
Yeah.
the like you should have just quit while you're ahead kind of mentality.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, I'm not a big fan. I think it was just like this album is very mainstream and it is very Britpop, but like it doesn't feel it. Like it doesn't feel like I'm watching a fucking Apple ad. It's like
No,
you know, it's real music. It just has like happy lyrics, but
I
it at
was-
least has
yeah.
like, you know,
Super
that's
beautiful.
actually, that's a really like interesting thing as well. When I was comparing the two, was like lyrically, I found that Parachutes is like really positive in terms of the lyrics and like the content that he's talking about.
the Benz is
but-
the most depressing thing in the world.
Yeah, and I was like, it's so weird that like you get the same feeling from both in
Yeah.
a way.
Mm.
And it's funnily enough, like one of the things that I've realized is what I love most in music is that like bittersweet feeling where like
Yeah.
you've got
Melancholic,
happy and
for
sad
sure.
like intermingling together.
Mm.
And so it's been a big thing I've been thinking about in terms of writing my own stuff. But, you know, Oasis is huge on it as well. Like actually just a lot of Britpop is that. Like
Yeah.
it's got the melancholy nature, but there's always like something uplifting about it, whether it's the lyrics being positive and the music being melancholic or the other way around. It's
Yeah.
like always that interesting dynamic dichotomy to it.
Yeah.
I think
for sure.
what I found this week listening to the albums, the bends is very unpredictable. For someone listening to the
Yeah.
first time,
Yeah.
I had no idea what was going on, and I didn't know what was going to come next. Whereas Parachutes was a bit more, you kind of knew what you were in for. And it's not
Yeah.
like necessarily a knock on it, but if you're comparing the two,
Oh,
For
definitely.
sure.
like
Like,
there's a lot of just straight acoustic guitars on Parachutes, with a bit of phaser and reverb.
Yeah.
They don't kind of expand any a bit more than that.
I feel like it's it kind of comes down to what kind of album you like. Because to me, Parachutes is like it's a body of work. Like the whole thing sounds like one big long song that like tackles the same kind of issues and themes and stuff, and it like feels like a concept piece. Whereas to me, the Bends is like a greatest hits style of record where like they just wrote as many bangers as they could and like picked the best ones from it, which
Absolutely.
I don't know, like that's like I don't know, I love that in records. Probably not as a listener, but like as a songwriter, it's like that's the approach I tend to take, especially it's like a different era nowadays where like singles are a bit more
Albums
of a focus than full albums. But yeah, it's funny to like listen to the Bends and be like, as a writer, I totally get this, but like listening to it as just purely a passive listener, I kind of see the benefit in like having one full concept piece.
It properly sounds like it's in between OK Computer and Pablo Honey. Like you can hear like songs that sound like they could have been off Pablo Honey and sound proper like 90s, early 90s sort of stuff. But then you've got songs like Just. Like Just sounds like it should be on OK Computer. Like it's straight off there. It's like so similar to Paranoid Android, it's crazy. The super acoustic parts that then just lead into the most heavy thing you've ever heard, and then like super unexpected passages. I totally agree with that. It definitely feels like, and then like Fake Plastic Trees is completely different. It's just a great big ballad that doesn't fit any of the above criteria. So
definitely,
yeah,
it's like I find it so interesting when bands do that as well, when they jump between albums. Especially with like the first one that comes to mind is Title Fight. I'm sure you guys are fans of Title Fight as well, but like each new album comes out and you're like, whoa, this is like so cutting edge. Like they've just done such a new thing.
It's just a progression. Yeah.
And then you go back and listen afterwards and you're like, holy shit. Like you can totally hear where all of these ideas came from in the records prior.
Absolutely.
Which I find, it's really cool to hear that kind of progression between albums, not just like in a record.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
All
Moving forward. Always.
Should we get into the segments?
Yeah, let's do it.
You got any more? You got any more you want to add on these albums?
I'll say I'm just gonna say my little pros and cons for both quickly. I think Radiohead that was the con that I was going to talk about. As far as I think that it feels like it's pulled from a lot of places, probably because they had like this immense pressure from being all of a sudden the biggest band in the world from this creep basically, and everyone was just wanting them to do that again, and then you can hear them they want to move in the direction that OK Computer was in, and so it does mix and match. But I would say that Coldplay, even though it is really uniform, I would say that it's the instrumentals anyway. I really like the vocal melodies, but they're not as memorable to me. I feel like it's almost
very
it's
like
too
singer-songwriter, you know, like
yeah.
I think that was a big thing I noticed too, was that like Coldplay to me didn't sound like a collaborative process in terms of writing, like, which it wasn't. Like it is Chris Martin's brain. Whereas Radiohead, like for the Bends, in Pablo Honey, it was all Tom York, but like in this album, they really put a focus on each person having their collaborative efforts. And I feel like you can hear that, like Ed O'Brien being like such a like tech geek and like having all these like crazy effects and stuff. It's not as prominent as in, say, OK Computer, but you can hear it like very background, subtly, like all of those little complexities I was telling you about. Just like
for sure,
once you listen closely, you're like, what the fuck? Like this section literally just sounds like guitar and vocals, but you can hear like
so
a
much
Wurlitzer like electronic piano going on and like some strings in the background here and like all these other like loops going on. You're just like, holy shit.
It just feels so chaotic throughout the album. You never really know what's around the corner. Whereas, I would say that they perfected that by OK Computer. I'd say that they like sorted that, and that feels uniform, that whole album. Whereas Coldplay is like almost too uniform. Like it's too.
Yeah, I agree.
I can see what's coming too easily, even though like the big songs on it, like really good songwriting and as good as ballads come, but I'm not I can only really remember Chris Martin and what he's done.
Yeah, it is quite
I
like
don't
one
remember
note.
anything else that happened.
Well, that was it as well, because apparently when they were going into the studio to record it, the producer was like, in pre-production, was like, nah, like, it's not good enough. It's just simply not a good enough album. Like, come back in 6 months. And at that point, they hadn't written Yellow yet. And so, like, they went away, wrote Yellow, came back, and, like, maybe, I think, one other song on the record.
Yeah.
And he was like, sick. Like, we
It'll
have
make
our standout song that's going to, like, carry this whole record. And the rest is, like, you know, amazing driving music and that kind of thing. But, you know, I don't think any of it is, like, huge standout, like, bangers, really.
I think Yellow and Shiver as well. Shiver
I
to
like
me.
the opening track, Don't Panic. a
And
lot
Don't
as well.
Panic.
Yeah, that's
true.
definitely one of my favorites. And I
'Cause
think
it's just
that's
like,
the thing is,
it's
like,
so different, that song as well.
yeah, like the record I like so much, like as in Parachutes, the reason I like the record so much is because of those subtleties. Like,
Yeah.
it's not trying to be this huge stadium rock album that like
No.
blows
that's true.
everyone's
Yeah,
minds. And
for
so if
sure.
you don't like come into it with that expectation, which is probably like a bit of the fault of like comparing the Bends to it, is like they're two very like different intentions in terms of a record.
Yeah.
And especially, I think the one thing that we need to mention as well is the fact that Parachutes is their debut record, whereas
Yeah.
it's the sophomore for Radiohead. So like, there's obviously so much more chemistry as a band and like
Yeah.
more money for one
Yeah.
to be able to experiment and have the time in
Yeah.
a studio and like, you know,
Well,
really
yeah.
explore what the album can be.
You listen to Pablo Honey, and that album is not good. Besides Creep, really, it's pretty trash. So yeah, Radiohead
It's like,
weren't
it's
geniuses
very
from
amateur,
the
you
start.
know. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
I
For
would
sure.
really quickly sum up. The Bends is chaotic and Parachutes is atmospheric in a way. They
Yeah.
are very different,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
in terms of
totally.
songwriting and, or not songwriting, but in terms of general sound and where the bands are, I think they're pretty similar in a way. Cool. Should we get into the segments?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Let's get into it. We're going to do Get Inked. That's right. We're going to create some tattoo designs from these lyrics or bands or whatever you want. Brae, do you want to go first?
yeah, okay. Mine are all pretty dumb.
ours. I bet
Oh.
mine are worse. So
Yeah.
don't worry.
I'm
These are always
So-
trash. I wouldn't worry too much.
yeah.
So
man.
the first ones I had were for the Bends, Radiohead. And it was a small little iron with steam coming out of it, and you put it on your ribs, so it's like your iron lung.
That's
Ah.
nice though.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
That's sick.
Oh, really? Did you have that
Yeah,
as well?
but I've got a second that is really bad, so I'll save that. It's all good.
Okay.
Hit me with it. Should we do like
Oh.
one each and then?
Oh, it's all right. No, you go. I've got to think it out a little bit more.
Okay. Or actually, this is a super interesting one as well. In the song "Sulk" on the Bends, I only realized this in like doing some reading about it, but apparently it's about some massacre that occurred in
Yeah.
the UK, like a shooter. And the original last line was supposed to be "Go shoot your gun," but
Just
it
after
was
Kurt.
just after Kurt had commit suicide or
True.
arguably been murdered.
Fuck you, Courtney.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And yeah, so they ended up changing the lyrics to, I think, "Just like your dad, you'll never change," something like that. So that was my second tattoo idea, was having "Go shoot your gun," but it's crossed out, and then "Just like your dad, you'll never change" underneath it.
Oh, that's nice.
Pretty edgy.
Sick.
I like that.
That's heaps good. Did you have one for Parachutes?
Yeah. So, it was from Trouble, like the it's just it would just be either your own face, which is a bit self-indulgent, or the word "me" just in the middle of like a traditional style spiderweb tattoo.
Oh, mine's very similar. Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's so good. So good.
I'll go.
What are yours,
I
Brad?
don't know.
Yeah, I'll go.
if I could
Mine
and have
was
my
off
face,
Trouble. I think the lyric is, a spider web. I'm caught in the middle. I mainly thought of like the Treehouse of Horror Simpsons ep when Bart turns into a fly, and
Oh.
Yeah, nice.
but-
so
Yeah,
you know how you see
so
people
good.
have like those like on your kneecap on your elbow like the spider web.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that
Yeah.
would like that when Bart's a fly, just that in the middle of it with a big like bubble head.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's mine. And
I like that. That's way less like self-indulgent as well.
and for the Bend, I just had like the cover, the album cover. That like it's super weird. Do you guys know any more about that or the inspirations for that?
No.
or anything?
It looks like
Parachutes.
It looks like a creative.
For
No,
the bends.
for the bends, yeah.
Oh, for the bends. Yeah, it's actually a hectic story. So apparently they were going around like with a, I don't know, just some like shitty camera. Sorry, one sec. I was looking up track titles. Yeah, they had a little cassette camera, and they like took it around the streets and stuff, and were trying to get footage of like street signs and like all these different like edgy things to potentially get a screen grab after they put it through a television. So like you would play it through the TV monitor
And then get a picture.
and then get a screen grab of like what it looks like with all the like chromatic aberration, distortions, and all that kind of stuff. And they ended up like just not really vibing any of that, and so they went to a hospital and they were like, let's try and get some footage of an actual iron lung, like the respirator things.
Yeah.
And when they got there, they were like, well, this thing's heaps fucking boring. Like, it's literally just a machine. And so they ended up just kind of like seeing what they could find around the hospital, and found like a CPR mannequin, and just the expression on the face apparently was perfect, because it looks like, I think the quote he said was, it looks like an android first realizing the feelings of agony and ecstasy,
Wow.
like at the exact same time. Like you can't tell whether it's like extreme happiness or extreme sadness, and they were like, this facial expression is just so perfect. And so yeah, they ended up using that.
Sick.
That's so
crazy.
Sick. That's
That's
way
so
sicker than
cool.
I thought it would be.
Yeah. And funnily enough as well, the like Stanley Donwood, the guy who did it, like he's done all of their artworks ever since that album onwards.
Mhm.
So
Sick.
like that was kind of the start of their relationship.
That's awesome.
That's so
Thanks for
good.
that.
Same with Nigel Godrich as well, like the producer.
Yeah.
He's done all their records since too.
Sick.
True.
It's pretty fucking cool.
Well, we'll segue from that awesome artwork into a terrible piece of artwork. So mine from the Bends is from
Uh-oh.
yeah, here we go. So from the first line of Bones, which is a sick song. I really like that song. But the first line is, I don't want to be crippled and cracked. Shoulders, wrists, knees, and back. So shoulders, wrists, knees, and back. So it's an outline of 4 people. The first person's pointing to their shoulders. The next person's pointing to their wrists.
Oh,
Next
no.
person's pointing to their knees. And the last person to their back.
Dear.
Shoulders,
Whoa.
wrists, knees, and back.
No.
Like
way.
head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Will.
Oh no,
Will.
Wilbur,
You
what are
need
you
to.
doing?
You need to be stopped, mate. That's too far.
Oh,
What's
yeah. Anyway, so from Parachutes, from the song High Speed, we've been living life in a bubble. So I thought it was quite relevant with all the sporting competitions around the world being back, and they're living in a bubble, like legit. The NBA are in a bubble. So the tattoo is a dome, and inside the dome, it's Coldplay dressed in red marching band suits. You know the episode of SpongeBob where they're singing inside of a dome and they sing "Sweet, Sweet Victory," yeah. So it's like Coldplay doing that scene from SpongeBob
As a tat.
as a tat, but like it wouldn't be too
That just has
detailed,
to happen. I just hope that Coldplay covers that song.
and you'd probably have to get it on like your thigh or something because it would be pretty big. But yeah, it's a SpongeBob Coldplay tat.
Love it.
Fucking earth. I love the crossover.
Yeah,
was
Adam,
so
what are
nice.
yours?
For mine, for Coldplay, this isn't really very funny, but it seems like a very like typical tattoo. Would be from Yellow. Just for you, I'd bleed myself dry. Would just be like a dagger, like going into my wrist with some blood and with like the banners. Just say for you, I'd bleed
Whoa.
myself dry.
That's
deep.
way too
Just-
emo for Coldplay.
It's pretty emo. It's pretty emo, but you know,
for
I think they
Coldplay.
were pretty emo to start.
Imagine having a tattoo like that and someone being like, "What's the meaning?" It's like,
It's
"Oh,
like,
you know,
oh, it's Coldplay."
Yellow by Coldplay."
Cool.
Yeah, I reckon that's decent. That's a good
Yeah, I back
conversation
it.
starter.
Yeah, definitely.
They think you're a psychopath, like some say. And then I did have exactly the same one for Radiohead. I was just gonna have the iron, like my lungs, just like outlined on my body, and just like with some nuts and bolts in it.
Yeah,
but I
sick.
also I had another
like a
one.
chest plate.
This one's really bad, so sorry about this one. For
Adam, you say that every week.
I
You don't
do,
need to
and
preface
it's
it by
always
that
terrible.
anymore.
It's
It's always
always
funny.
bad.
The people
so
know.
This one, the song "Bulletproof." I wish I was.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that sounded like a sentence that Yoda would say.
Oh.
Like bulletproof. I wish I was. So it would just be like him with like a couple gunshots
Whoa.
in him,
That was
and like
such
a little
good
speech bubble
impression.
that said, "Yeah, that." So
Wait, why was that so good? That Yoda
You've
impression.
been practicing all week for that, for sure.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, yeah,
there you go.
that is incredible.
Yeah, thanks, boys.
Hey, now you got Yoda and
I got Yoda and Jerry.
Jerry Seinfeld in the
I got him
bank for
down.
impersonations.
That's all right. I'll be a comedian within a year doing this pod. I just got to get them up. I'll sign up for SNL.
You got.
Yeah,
This is just a bridger.
Yeah.
Let's do the. All right, so fattest riff, either legit the fattest riff of the album, or just your favorite part of the album. Brae, what do you have?
I reckon. So I kind of stayed true to like fattest riff as close as I could. From the bends, it was definitely the bit in My Iron Lung where it like kicks up the tempo and the distorted guitars come in.
Yeah.
The creep moment of the bends.
Yeah.
It's just like every time it just catches you so off guard and it's huge. So that for me was it for the bends. And then for Coldplay, I feel like it was heaps harder for Coldplay because there's not like huge riffs.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick like in terms of like guitar riffs, my favorite is definitely in Don't Panic. Just like melodically, the choice of notes is just like so fucking interesting.
Yeah.
And like you could just hear it over and over and over again. It never gets tiresome. And just like the tone of the guitar is amazing. Like it's so perfect.
I think with that
Yeah,
song as well,
great
because it
effort.
only goes for about 2 minutes. That's why it's you can have it in bulk. You don't. It's good, especially compared to most songs go for about 4.5, 5 on the album. So yeah. Mine fattest riff for the bends was the chorus of Bones. It's not like a chill verse, but it's a bit more like a driving, and then it just hits you with that big riff, super high pitched kind of out there crazy melody, vocal melody as well. I thought that was very cool. And then Parachutes, I did the pre-chorus of Shiver. I just love the vocal melody on it. It's like, did you want me to change? And then he goes like high pitch. He's like, and I want you to. I don't know. I can't remember. But it's fucking it's good.
Yeah.
Goes full like 80s power metal.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like that part. What were yours,
Sure.
lads?
You go, Adam.
Lads. Brad?
Brad?
I had.
You there, mate?
Yeah, I'm here. Right here. I had just this is the first time I've listened to chorus with like actual like through proper speakers and like my headphones, and it is beautiful. So I'm just gonna go the old Yellow chorus. A bit
Yeah.
bit
it's
too
so
easy,
good.
but like it was refreshing to hear that. Like
It was
through a good setup.
definitely
once.
my
I've only ever
my
heard
beat
it like
choice.
like through crusty speakers at Coles or something. It was really good. And it's got to be the Iron Lung Bridge. Like when everyone starts going ham boning,
Yeah.
it's too easy.
Mine for Radiohead was the end of Fake Plastic Trees. Like
Oh,
as everything
definitely.
builds up and you hear like right at the end and like you hear I think it's like there's a string. It sounds like there's a string section. I don't know if it is or it might
Yeah.
be synths. Could be synths, but it all just brings up and he just goes ham.
It's so
that-
good.
That part makes me want to cry every time. Like does
Yeah.
actually make me feel a little bit emotional
That was because
every time I listen to it.
the way that I like got back into the bends because like I heard it when I was younger. Funnily enough, because like both these records were like two of my dad's favorite records.
Yeah, I
Um,
was the same. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I got my first car, same deal. I didn't have an aux cord, and so I like only had CDs that
yeah.
he had,
Mm.
and so I was like these were two that I just used to leave on repeat because they were so good.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that song, I had completely forgotten existed until much later. It's at the end of one of the seasons of Entourage. Have you guys
Oh,
ever watched
true.
that show?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all of it, only the first couple seasons, but
There was
Yeah.
like there's one like super sad moment where like the gang breaks up basically.
Yeah.
And like they go separate ways on two different private jets, and like that song's playing in the background, and I was like, "Oh man, don't do this to me!" Like,
So nice.
it's so sad.
yeah.
Oh, no.
It's such a cinematic song, I think.
It's huge. Hey, I love it.
And then for Coldplay, I just had the intro to Shiver, just because the guitars are kind of unexpected to me as they come
yeah.
in.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's a really nice. It's actually quite a little bit almost Radiohead-y guitar wise.
Yeah.
Not
Really
quite
fuzzy.
there, but
Yeah.
as
The
far
most,
as like the rest of the
chaotic
album
on the
goes,
record.
it's I think that's the strongest guitar led song
Totally.
to me.
Yeah,
No,
it's
definitely,
like
yeah.
definitely the most unique in that sense, I reckon. Like
Yeah.
the vibe of it's so different to the rest.
Mm.
Like for me, like Shiver isn't really one of my favorite songs. Like it just like doesn't really hit me that much, but I totally get that. Like it is the most like catching instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Cool. Let's do what songs are we chucking in the playlist. We got a little playlist. It's called the Record Royale Ads. All of our top songs from all the albums we've covered. So what are we going to chuck in this week? Brae, what are your 2 favourite songs from each album?
Favorite? This was so hard to do. But after lengthy deliberation, I found that Don't Panic was probably my favorite from Parachutes.
Yes.
And I still couldn't come to a decision on the bends, so I'll let you guys help me on this one. But Fake Plastic Trees or My Iron Lung.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
Nice.
They're all so good, eh? There's a lot to choose from for the
it's
bends.
so hard.
Take any. Yeah. Sure.
I had for the bends, I had the title track, The Bends.
Yeah, it's a great
Yep.
song.
Huge
Baby's got the bends. I just thought that whole song is so good. It just builds so well. It's got such a nice pace, and it's like got that huge guitar riff. It's dope. And then for Coldplay, I had Don't Panic as well. So I'm gonna do, I don't know, eh? I like Trouble. I might just do Trouble.
Yeah,
I like that
Trouble's
song.
good.
Bats.
Great
Had some good melodies in there as well. But yeah, Don't Panic was definitely my favorite for Parachutes. Brad, what were yours?
Mine have both been said, I think. I had Trouble. Can you describe a track as like orbital, you reckon? Feels like you're on like
Orbital?
ISS. Orbital. Like you're orbiting around Earth with that track.
Yeah,
I can definitely say
for
that.
sure.
I can see this whole
Orbital? Yeah, I
album
like
as being orbital.
Yeah.
Orbit rock. New
I'm
genre.
gonna have to pick something else. Then. Orbital.
That's so nice. Orbital.
So Don't Panic and I might have to go Yellow then.
It's got to be in there.
Trouble
gotta
and
be
Don't
in there.
Panic have been said, which are my 2 favorites for sure. And I'll go.
Yeah.
I had High and Dry stuck in my head all week, so I'm just gonna go with
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I just
No,
picked
that's-
the 2 biggest singles, but oh well.
No, that's
That's right.
yeah,
Nah.
the singles
It's
for a
gotta be
reason,
in there.
man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Adam?
I'll pick Shiver for Coldplay, just
Mhm.
because I feel like that's got to be in there. It's a
Yeah.
great track. It's really catches your ears. And then for Radiohead, what have we? I'll put Just in there because Just is like
yeah, huge tune.
Just is so good. And it's so like I feel like it's, as I said before, it sounds like it's straight off OK Computer, but that's. I think OK Computer is probably Radiohead for that era, for what they were trying to do. That's them perfecting their sound. And I think Just is like the biggest tease to that, which is like the contrast between Tom York's just like crazy all over the place vocals, as well as the Greenwood's also super crazy guitars. It's almost like a battle between the two,
Totally.
which is pretty unique for the time. So yeah, Just.
Have you seen the music video for it?
Yeah.
It's cool, hey.
It's sick. I watched a lot of them today, actually,
Yeah.
all their videos. But
Do they have crazy music videos that match their music really well?
Fake
Yeah.
Plastic Trees video is the perfect.
It's so
video.
good.
It's just like Tom looking through like fish bowls. He's kind of got a crazy eye, so he's just like looking through them, looking at you, and it's pretty.
Through, like,
Oh
a
wait, is that
shopping-
Fake Plastic Trees? Or
No.
that might be a different one.
It's like they're in the shopping
Oh,
center. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
neon
sorry, yeah.
colors and stuff.
Yeah, and then he's okay.
It's getting
That's a
like
different
spun
one.
around in the trolley and stuff.
Yeah,
It's a cool
I
video.
can't remember what I'm.
The
thinking
Just
of.
one though, there's like heaps of conspiracy about like what the guy says at the end, because like if you guys haven't seen it, the whole video is basically like a guy at the start just like lays down on the floor and he's like staring blankly into nothingness, and everyone around him is like having a conversation with him and just being like, why are you lying on the floor? Like, are you depressed? Are you upset? Blah, blah, blah. Like, what's going on? And it's all in subtitles on the bottom.
Yeah,
And the song's just going on and on and on. And more people start gathering around him and trying to work out what's wrong with him. And at the end, it's like, what is it? And he's like, if I told you, we'd all be on the floor right now, kind of thing, or something along those lines. And they get him to say it. And then the end of it is just all of the people lying on the floor after they've heard. But it's just, you just see him mouthing what it is. There's no subtitles. And
It's
so
so
heaps
sick.
of people try to work out what that sentence is. But it's such a good
crazy
video.
video. Yeah.
Sick concept.
Cool. Let's do the last little segment. 2 truths and a lie. Bradley, are you up this
I'm
week
up.
or is Adam
I'm up this week.
up this week? All right. So
Sure
Brae,
am.
we didn't mention this to you, but so Brad's gonna say 3 statements or 3 whatever he's got, but 3 statements. 2 of them are going to be true, One's gonna be a lie that he made up, and we got to figure out which one is the lie.
Sick. Sounds
All right,
good.
Brad.
Yeah, we all
Take
good?
it away, my good man.
Righto. So I've got two about Chris Martin essentially, and one a Radiohead related one. Number one, Chris Martin used to work at a caravan dealer. Number two, Chris Martin was once stripped down to his singlet and underwear after stage diving. Number three, members of Radiohead had cameos in Harry Potter. Discuss.
I back Radiohead being in Harry Potter.
Yeah, I
'Cause
feel
they're
like
from-
the UK, like,
Yeah.
They're from Oxford, and Oxford is where they filmed a lot of like Hogwarts, all of the scenes of them walking through when they're in the
Yeah,
corridors and there's that little park. That's Oxford.
True.
So I feel like they would have been there when they were filming it. So I back that.
Okay.
The other two,
We're just going straight away. Okay, so Chris Martin got stripped down to his what? Underwear.
Singlet and undies. Apparently, it was in Australia. Like, on the...
He's wearing a singlet.
Festival?
Yeah, he's
or?
wearing a singlet. No, it was like during the world tour of the Rush to the Blood to the Head. Apparently, he got a jacket from one of the punters that threw it back on stage when he got back up. And, like, he continued the set, just, like,
That's
jacket,
pretty boss.
undies, and and kicks and socks.
What town? What city?
I have no idea. Yeah. It was
Oh,
set in
Radio.
Australia. Yeah.
True.
Keeping it
What was
uh,
what was the
okay.
first tale?
He's wearing a caravan dealer.
Yeah, his parents owned a caravan shop, I think, or something like that. It was a family-owned business, and he worked.
You know
there for a
what?
bit.
I'm going to go with Radiohead being the lie because I know Brad likes Harry Potter, and I just reckon he would have just made that up and just been like, yeah, they're from England.
yeah, like I just rewatched all of the Harry Potters. Like,
What Harry
during
Potter?
COVID.
What Harry Potter?
Not saying.
Why not?
Oh, that's for sure it. Okay, I fully back.
Well,
what
like Harry Potter number 1 would have came around the movies, 2001?
Yeah.
So, like, how big were Radiohead in 2000? Were they still really,
they're
really
really
big?
big.
Well, the Benz
this
was
is
95.
95.
Yeah.
Okay, Computer,
Okay,
97.
computers before that. Yeah, they were really big.
I'm going to say that's a lie. I'm locking in number
Okay.
3. Harry Potter's a lie.
What are you guys going?
I'll say the first one, the caravan dealer.
Sure.
Can you say
Yeah.
what members were in Harry Potter?
Johnny Greenwood, and is it Phil Selway? Is that it?
The drummer.
All right,
Yeah,
I might
yeah.
change mine because why would Brad know the members? He wouldn't look that up, would he? Fuck.
Oh, of
No, I'll
course I
stay
would.
with 3. I'll stay Harry Potter's the lie.
Okay.
Oh, it's so hard. Because, like, I was
What do you
going to
reckon,
say,
Brad?
like, if it was Colin Greenwood and, like, I think it's Phil, like, the drummer, I was just like, surely I wouldn't recognize them. They could just be anyone.
Yeah.
But, like, if Tom York's face was sticking up there,
Mm.
you'd know it straight away. I'm going to go... I feel like I'm going to go with that one as well.
Okay.
Partially
we got-
because I want to be proven wrong.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet. So we got 2 for the Harry Potter one for the caravan dealership.
I'm going caravan. Yeah.
Righto. Jeez, Adam, you were wrong. Everyone was wrong. It was the second one. So Johnny Greenwood and Paul Selway, they were, the band in Harry Potter 4 that play like during the ball.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that's them.
Good fucking point.
Yeah, there you go.
That is sick.
And the band
That's
was called.
so sick.
What were they called?
The band?
Well, they have
the
a
Weird
band name
Sisters or
within the
something, I think it
movie.
was called. Wizarding Band. But yeah, I just completely made that second one up.
That's awesome.
True.
Yeah, so there you go.
Do you
That
know
was
you
classic.
should have included? Do you know that Coldplay were the band playing in the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones? Like, which is like
Should've
not,
came
I don't know
across
if
that, hey.
anyone here has watched Game of Thrones. Probably not.
No, I
know
have.
these
I
boys
have not.
I can't
sorry.
tell if this is another lie amongst two.
No, that's true. I was gonna say you should have included that because that's a
Yeah. I
yeah.
should've done
Coldplay were
cameos, but
the band in like the main scene.
there you go.
Really?
A lot of cameos. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Well, fucking Ed Sheeran was sitting at like the fire in that one episode. So
Yeah. There were a
just
few
gone-
cameos in Game
yeah.
of Thrones.
all the fucking hit stars.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's rate these albums. We're gonna do it out of 10. But before we rate them,
Oh fuck.
we got the good people on Facebook and Instagram to let us know what albums they thought was gonna win. This is the biggest thrumping ever. Radiohead got 58 votes. Coldplay 9.
Yeah.
Hectic.
And,
I'm
we
not
got-
surprised.
Yeah, no, neither. A few people chimed in. So we got our man Carl. He said, "How is this even comparable?"
Shout Carl.
Yeah, shout out Carl. Ethan Winters. Radiohead makes me feel uneasy, but in the best way possible. Isabella Britt. Two completely different vibes from these albums, but Coldplay has definitely got the pick. There's a Coldplay supporter. And our man Chris Hendry. Brae, this one's for you. Can Brae please come back during Oz Music Month and do a Silverchair album? Ooh, there you go.
That's a
Wait,
great
what do you
idea.
mean?
We're
In
doing
November is Australian Music Month, and he's just saying, come back on the show and do cover a Silverchair album, which is coincidental because we brought that up
hectic.
before. Silverchair.
Yeah, sick. Deal.
And our man Chris. Cool. So let's rate these albums out of 10. Brad, do you have ratings?
I
Values?
forgot once again, but it's
Yeah,
pretty
we
easy.
forget
I'll
every
do.
week. We try and
I'll
use
do,
Brae. We try and use different ratings instead of just out of 10. So Brad, you want to quickly make some up on the spot?
Yeah, I think I'll do out of 10 Iron Lungs for the Bends, and for Coldplay, let's just do
Spies.
Spies. Yeah,
Acoustic
it's
guitars.
Spies. Yeah,
Spies.
Out of 10
Okay.
Spies.
Iron Lungs and Spies and
Yeah.
Brae with no half points, so it's a straight number. So what are you
Okay.
giving the Bends out of 10? Out of 10 Iron Lungs.
Oh, the Bends. How harsh do you guys rate?
Not that harsh. We're
We've
all
given
pretty-
10s before, and we've given the lowest has been a 4. So
Okay.
pretty varied.
I
But
feel
this is a good album, so you can give it whatever you want. If you want to
Yeah.
go the big bonanza, it's all you.
Yeah,
I feel like the Bends I would probably give a 9
Cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
Decent.
because
9
it's like
Iron Lungs.
it's fucking banger, but there are some bits in it where it's like, like that's an album song, not like a blow my mind song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Decent.
Sure.
Sweet. We'll do one album at a time. So, Brad, do you want to do yours for the Bends?
Yeah, I had an 8. Just 8 Iron Lungs. Just because I felt like this is the first time I've listened to this album this week. And I just need more time. I need more time with this thing. I don't know, I feel like I always was an OK Computer sort of guy. That's the only one I've ever listened to. And I think I like that better. So,
Totally.
yeah, it can't go much more than that, for me at least. So, yeah, 8.
Cool. Adam?
I went a 9 Iron Lungs, because I think that similar to what Brae was saying before, I think this album is really well written, and I can't fault it on lyrics or instrumentation. I think that they've really hit the spot there, but I think that it definitely doesn't sound like it's not a fully fledged sound yet. It's kind of pulling from a few different sources, which I think they perfected when they got to OK Computer, which I'd probably say OK Computer's, if not a 10, very close to a 10. So I'd say this is a 9. 9 Iron Lungs. Yeah.
That's a fair amount of Iron
There you
Lungs.
go.
I'm going to go 8 Iron Lungs. It felt like this album was a bit of a masterpiece. Like, listening to it, you can tell they are geniuses.
Yeah,
That's just one. It's one of those albums you can tell by listening to it. Felt like there was like a lot of purpose behind all of the songs and the way that the album was structured. Just like a crazy genius album. Yeah, but 8 Iron Lungs. Couldn't go higher because not that I don't want to say because I haven't really delved into it enough, but there were songs that I skipped and can't go too high for the skippable songs. So yeah, 8 Iron Lungs. Cool, let's do Parachutes. Brae, out of 10
Totally.
Spies.
10 Spies. I like it. I would say an 8. 8 Spies, keeping to the same rating system. I think main reason being, like, for one, I feel like this album wouldn't exist without the Bends. Like, it really is like not a jack, but like you can tell that there's like a heavy influence from it, as well as like many other bands. And also, yeah, like the skippability factor. It's like I love it as, like, as I said, driving music or like background music kind of thing. Like, it's just so perfect for that. But to like sit and listen to it, like, it does kind of get a bit same towards the end. But overall, just like instrumentation wise and vocal melody wise, like, it is still so interesting and like does have a lot of that like genius factor, I think.
Yeah.
So you can tell it's just like, it is a bit mainstream and it is a bit like too easily digestible, but that's almost why it's good. It's like the best version of that, where like you'll hear it at Coles and you're like, I'm not disappointed to hear it again, but I'm definitely hearing it at Coles every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well put. Bradley, what are yours? What's yours?
Yeah, I didn't know whether to dissect this album or not, and I decided just to not and just listen to it, just by as it is, and I found it like really almost like peaceful in a way.
Yeah.
I need to listen to more like just more easy listening. I think I need to chill a bit. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I found it really like luscious and just beautiful. I'm gonna give it 7 spires.
Adam?
I'm sorry, Brae. I don't mean to offend. I'm gonna give it 6 spires. I feel like it could have been executed better. I feel like the songwriting's there, as far as like Don't Panic, Shiver, Yellow and Trouble especially. All those songs, obviously, the songwriting is really good. The structures are great. The vocal melodies are like very instantly recognizable, which is, I mean, that's a very important factor when we talk about pop music. But I thought that the instrumentals definitely were nothing to. I feel like you could have just, any session musicians could have thrown a lot of that together.
Yeah,
pretty
totally.
easily. Given and I think I may have even rated it higher if it was just the Chris Martin solo album.
Yeah,
but
I see what you mean.
as a band's album, it just doesn't, and also especially in comparison to the Bends, where the Bends is really the band coming into their own as an actual band. So for me, yeah, it just stands out a lot more. But yeah, 6 spires.
Totally.
I'm going to follow your lead there, Adam. 6 spires for me as well. I love the sound of the album. I know it's like mainly just acoustic guitars and reverbed out keys and a really nice vocal melody. But it has a sense of maturity in a way, even though it's their debut album. But I think it's... And what you said, Brad, like I was cooking bacon egg, had it on. I was like, this is lovely. So I wasn't really... Like a lot of the week this week, I wasn't sitting down going, that shit. I was just kind of chill listening to it. But there is one or too many acoustic guitar songs that don't really go anywhere. And, you know, Don't Panic, Yellow, they're so good. And if they put another couple more of them in, took out the, I guess you call them filler songs in a way, it would have taken another level. But yeah, I'm going 6.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
6 spires. And that gives a total score of 27 out of 40 spires for Parachutes. But I think we kind of knew where this one was going. Radiohead, the band, gets the win. 34 out of 40 Iron Lungs.
Yeah, nice.
Well done, Radiohead. Well done.
Go on your thumb.
Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned Radiohead were in South Park, Brae. I can't remember that, but I remember them being in it, but I can't remember the episode.
Yeah, it's the one where Cartman feeds that kid his parents.
Oh,
like he
that's
cooks them in the
Scott
chili.
Tenorman Must Die.
Yeah, that's it. Scott Tenorman. Yeah.
Yeah, chili con carne.
Yeah, and they like get Radiohead because like Radiohead is Scott Tenorman's favorite band. And like he gets them to come there and be like, look at this baby crying. Like I can't believe he's crying. There's so much going on in the world, and like he's just eaten his dead parents.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So fucked.
That is such a good episode. I wish I remember that.
Actually,
more now.
I should say I don't know if it actually is Radiohead doing the voices. I can't imagine it is. Like, but them as pseudo characters feature in that episode.
It could be. They never used to really get guest stars on, but I feel as though it could have been one that they might have done.
I feel like
it's not like they really ripped them off.
That'd be a very Radiohead thing to do. Like say no to all of the conventional like talk shows and stuff, but then go on South Park just to say up yours to the industry.
Yeah.
They would. I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Thanks so much, Brae, for coming on, man. It's been really good.
Thank you for having me. It's so
awesome.
Good.
Nah, absolutely killed it. Radiohead getting the win. Next week, we got another guest coming on. I'm so excited to have her. Tilly, a.k.a. Fritz, is coming on the show. We're doing... I kind of knew she was going to do this album. Always is self-titled debut. And Stratosphere by Duster. Have you guys ever listened to that?
No.
Yeah, I gave it a little bit of a listen. It's pretty out there.
Have you listened to it before, though? Like, have you ever...
No. I've listened to it since she said that was hers.
Is it like... is it in a similar vein to Always?
Nah.
Not really.
But it should
different.
be... they're pretty different, but in a good way. I think it'll be a very
Sick.
interesting conversation.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really keen. I'm really keen
Yeah.
to listen to them. I'm always keen to listen to every album, but I don't know. I have an inkling that I'm gonna somehow either really like Duster's album or just be like, what's going on?
It's pretty weird, but it's good. I don't think I've ever heard anything like it though.
Yeah, well,
Which
I'm
is
really
cool.
keen. We got Tilly coming on. Cool. We're gonna wrap this one up. Brae, thank you so much, my guy. If you ever
Thank
want
you,
to come
dude.
on
Thank
again,
you.
let us know.
I'll be back for that Silverchair one.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
hell yeah!
Hell yeah.
All right, 666. Let's leave it there. It's Friday night when we're recording. We're gonna go have some beers. All right, we'll see you later. Bye
Cheers,
bye
lads.
bye.
Bye.
Have a good one.